Hi and welcome to SCW, the wrestling channel here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave any comments in the comment section, please. Like and share the video as well. Spread with a friend as well. We're getting near the magic 500 subscribers. Would love to hit that milestone, so please spread the word of SCW and let's see if we can hit that milestone together. But today, I'm going to be talking about WWE Extreme Rules. I'm going to go through all the matches for you now, give my predictions for the show. I do think there'll be one or two matches added to the card at this stage. We've only got 6 matches to talk about, but I do believe there'll be at least 2 more added. So I will be talking about them towards the end of the video. But there'll be a chapters part as well, so if you want to go through to the match you want to see the most and see that part first, then you can skip ahead to that. But of course, I suggest you stick around because I like to think that every match is worth talking about and will be interesting throughout the video. So without further ado, this is the Horror Show Extreme Rules, and I tell you what, it feels quite a horror show when you look at the lineup. We've got a Wyatt swamp fight, we've got an eye for an eye match, Nikki Cross is involved in the championship match. It feels quite worthy of this being called a horror show, but we'll have to wait and see what else could be added in horror terms. But one thing for sure that's kind of felt a bit lackluster, perhaps in horror in a different sort of term, has been the WWE Championship match. And I was really looking forward to it when it was first announced. Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler. But I just don't think much has been added to the match as we go through. The one bit of added spice is Dolph Ziggler gets to pick the stipulation, although sadly, through a Facebook advert, that looks like it could have been leaked, which is a bit of a shame. If you want to, skip ahead for the next 5 or 10 seconds. It is reportedly going to be a TLC match, which is a shame if that's the case. In my opinion, I think it'll be a good match, don't get me wrong, but for a horror show I was expecting something a bit darker for Ziggler to pick the stipulation, and especially when he was going to pick something I thought we'd never seen before. I felt that perhaps we were going to get something a bit different, so this for me feels like that perhaps it's a little bit that we've seen it before when it comes to Ziggler, but I think the match should be good. I don't think it gives Ziggler the advantage. I was expecting Robert Roode to be brought back in this sort of capacity, whether he was the special referee, perhaps he was going to be in a handicap match. Maybe it could be a handicap TLC match. We'll have to wait and see. But perhaps one thing is for sure here. Drew McIntyre is going to be walking away as the champion still. I don't see this anything more than a filler rivalry as we go towards SummerSlam, which I think will be Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. I think that looks to be the clear direction. I'm excited for when that can be put and brought together. But in the meantime, I do think when you look back at the partnership with these two, I enjoyed Ziggler and McIntyre as a tag team. I thought they did some good stuff until they kind of broke it off towards later that year. But I mean, now we've sort of been brought back together. It makes sense as one of those filler feuds, but at the same time, we look at it, and Dolph Ziggler at this point in the game, he's not going to win a WWE Championship. I'm sorry to say. So Drew McIntyre for me has to walk away and will retain the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre for the victory. Let's next look at the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley versus Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross on a horror show, eh? Feels like it's a perfect fit, doesn't it? I mean, despite the fact that Nikki Cross is wacky and crazy, she certainly is fun to watch and has been a great character. It's been great in the pandemic. I really feel that the characters really stand out in the Performance Center. Bayley herself has been doing some good work as a heel. I do think her more recent work as a cocky heel doesn't suit her as well, in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people do enjoy it, but I do think that her and Sasha Banks have done a great work with the Tag Team Championships. I will say they've defended it across all brands and they've done very well. Bayley almost is going back into alien territory. She's not really done a singles match, it feels, for a little while anyway. It feels that a lot of the time she's been teaming with Sasha, but I do think that here Bayley will retain the championship. It feels destined that Bayley will eventually drop the belt to Sasha Banks. Now, whether that will be at SummerSlam or not, we'll have to wait and see. It feels that WWE may be reluctant to pull the trigger, as we're not going to have this show in front of fans. It's not going to be in Boston like it originally was going to be. So maybe they might delay that break between her and Sasha for a little while. But what I will say is that I think that Bayley is going to return here. I think Nikki Cross is kind of like almost with Alexa Bliss. It's that standard feud that Bayley seems to have in the middle of the summer. There always seems to be one or the other or both. So it kind of feels like it's that time of year again. But Bayley, as always, will come out the victor, will retain here. Bayley to remain SmackDown Women's Champion until she drops the belt to Sasha Banks. We mentioned Sasha Banks. Let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship next. Sasha Banks, of course, is a tag team champion in the women's division, which means she can show up on all three brands, and she's scored herself a Raw Women's Championship match in the process. Now, this match against Asuka, for me, I want it to be the main event. I really do. I think it's going to be a standout. I think it could be an absolute classic and could be a Women's Match of the Year candidate. I'm really excited to see how it's going to play out. I wonder if Sasha and Bayley will be in each other's corners throughout the night because they have both important matches to concentrate on. If Bayley, though, is earlier in the evening, maybe she can accompany Sasha late in the evening. So that could be an interesting note to point in this match as well. Sasha Banks did retain the Women's Championships with Bayley on Raw against the Kabuki Warriors, which was interesting, which makes me think that Asuka will retain the belt here at this particular pay-per-view. I don't see a title change here at this stage of the game, but I think it's going to be a great match between the two. I don't think we need any more double champions in WWE, I'll have to say that. Although I think Sasha and Bayley would do a great job here. Sasha, for me, she's been Raw Women's Champion multiple times. I don't see what is going to be the benefit for her to be a short-term Raw Women's Champion once again. I think she needs to go for the Grand Slam, and the SmackDown Women's Championship is the place that she should be destined to go for. So I think that's when she becomes the Women's Champion next. So for me, could there be a miscommunication with Bayley and Sasha? I hope so. I hope we get this the ball rolling here with this with these two, where the breakup can start soon. And I'm going to go for Asuka to retain the championship. I think that at this stage, if she was to drop the belt, I think it would harm her momentum. I'd like to see Asuka go in against one of the top Raw women going into SummerSlam. Maybe it could be a returning Shayna Baszler. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Asuka will return here, and I think that Sasha Banks will continue with Bayley over on SmackDown. Next, let's talk about the United States Championship match, a battle against the old championship versus the new championship, and the new guy against the old guard, if you want. The new champion, I should say, rather than new guy. Apollo Crews has been with the company now for about 5 years or so, but it goes very quickly, I have to be honest with you. But him versus MVP is an interesting match. I've loved MVP's work. I must say, I did feel to myself when he come back, I thought, well, he's someone that's been around and he's been to the lower promotions, and what would he bring to the table in 2020? I'll tell you what he'll bring. He'll bring the VIP lounge. He'll bring the fantastic work on the microphone. He's built Bobby Lashley back up to where, incredibly, he should be, and could still make this Hurt Business really a major stable. He wanted Apollo Crews a part of his stable. It's not happened just yet. I don't think MVP is going to get his way at this pay-per-view. I think Apollo Crews will walk away the victor. I think Apollo Crews will actually favour the new championship and will be carrying that around going forward, as it looks like we've got a new United States Championship, which, to be honest, I'm going to say I do think is a slight downgrade on the old championship. I love the fact we've got the stripes, but it's missing the stars, and I wanted to see the stars on this championship. But other than that, I don't think the belt's a bad belt. I don't think it was the belt that needed redesigning, if we're being brutally honest. But no, I think Apollo Crews is doing a good job as champion. I think he will remain as champion, and I think going forward, he will be carrying the new United States Championship after defeating MVP. Despite the fact that Lashley is in the corner, I think Crews will come out on top. Well, this is the horror show, so let's start really getting into the horror portion of this video, shall we? Let's talk an eye for an eye. Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. A feud that started off really well for me, but I must admit I found a bit lackluster in recent weeks. I found too many repetitive tag team matches with Alberto Carrillo and Aleister Black. Black feels lost in that feud for me. I don't see why he was around. Austin Theory has gone AWOL as well during this some stage. So Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy have continued on. We've seen Rey Mysterio. We've seen Dominic involved in this. Dominic's done quite well in his roles he's done. He's still quite green, but I tell you what, the roles and bits he's given, he does fairly well, and I think with time and experience, Dominic could be a main player wherever he does his craft in the future for wrestling. But the interesting part of this match is not necessarily the eye for eye stipulation, which we'll come on to for the minute, is the fact that Rey Mysterio's contract has expired and he's working, reportedly, on a handshake agreement. So is he staying with the company or is he not? This is the big question we have to see going forward and could determine what happens with the result. Another thing we have to be interested in as well is Seth Rollins is going to be a father soon as well. I do wonder if he'd want to take some time off and spend time with Becky Lynch when she becomes a mother. But of course, I don't think she's due to be a mother for quite a while yet. So I can't see Seth Rollins going away just yet, if I'm being brutally honest here. But let's look at this eye for an eye stipulation. And I must admit, the ruling for me, I want to suspend my disbelief, but I'm really struggling. We're going to have perhaps some cinematic stuff here, and of course we're going to need it for this. The loser is someone who has their eye extracted out from their head. For me, that just feels bonkers, bizarre, and it just, for me, it doesn't work. I'm sorry. If we'd have seen sort of like an eye for an eye is where someone takes out someone's eye, or some, like, by hurting the vision or whatever, in that sort of format, or someone's got to wear, like, because Rey Mysterio can't see out of both eyes, that it's technically a half blindfolded match, then I kind of would be more on board. It kind of almost like a pirates match, if you want. But I just, this thing for me, I'm not sure I'm connecting with it, if I'm being brutally honest. So I'm going to go, instead of being negative for time, I'm going to actually just go straight to the finish for you. And I do think that Seth Rollins is going to be the victor. Purely, as I said, if Rey Mysterio is working on a handshake agreement, this would be a great way to write him off TV until he's either going to come back, or to write him off into the sunset where he can compete for another company. Because for me, really, if you're going to lose or be involved in a match like this, you cannot be on TV the next night. You can't even be on TV probably for the rest of the calendar year. I don't even know if, in realistic terms, you'd be able to come back and wrestle, to be brutally honest, if this was to really happen. So for me, it has to really write someone off. So for that reason, if Rey Mysterio is not staying with the company, for me, Seth Rollins is your victor here. And yeah, I mean, it's not really an eye for an eye, is it? It's more 2 eyes and you're out. Let's look at the Wyatt Swamp match, shall we then? And the last match officially currently that's been listed here on the WWE website. We've got Braun Strowman going to be taking on the Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt. Of course, we had the Firefly Funhouse character at Money in the Bank who lost against Braun Strowman here. We've now got the Eater of Worlds, and I love the twist. We've gone back with this storyline, and since this has been introduced, I've really got into the idea of this storyline at last. I was a bit lackluster when it went into Money in the Bank. With the Money in the Bank match that they had as well, it sort of wasn't feeling it so much either. I do feel with this match, I'm going to be more into it. A swamp environment, cinematic match. Anything can happen, almost like the old Wyatt compound here. We could see an introduction like a Firefly Funhouse match. We could have almost like the 3 faces of Wyatt. What if we got everything involved here? What if we got old characters? What if Rowan was back for one night? It could be very interesting how this could be put together. We could even get new members involved here that could be with this Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt. We could see like a Bo Dallas kind of vibe come in there eventually. Bray Wyatt's real brother, and have sort of like as a Firefly himself. There's lots of different ways, angles this could really go. But to make a prediction of what I think will happen, and I think we're going to get a fun, dark, horror-like movie for about maybe 15-20 minutes, and I think we're going to get an interesting match here. I think it will be very similar to like when we had Ultimate Deletion matches and stuff like that, and I think the Swamp is almost going to be like a leg of reincarnation in its own way. I expect Braun Strowman to retain here. I don't see him losing the belt here. I think we've got one more round with these two, and I think it will be at SummerSlam, and I think that is when it's going to be Braun Strowman versus The Fiend. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say that Braun Strowman wins here, but I reckon maybe the Eater of Worlds ends up in the Swamp, and I think he may re-emerge as The Fiend. And what a great way to sign out on a horror show than for The Fiend to turn up. It needs The Fiend, doesn't it, for a horror show environment, Extreme Rules. So that is going to be my prediction for you there, that Braun retains, but maybe he doesn't come off so well at the end. Let's look elsewhere into the pay-per-view and just make a couple of predictions. It looks like we're in for a bar brawl, which of course, when you look at this storyline, we've got a self-confessed alcoholic, and Jeff Hardy could be facing in a pub or some sort of bar brawl in general with Sheamus. It could be fun to watch as a match, but I feel uncomfortable knowing the circumstances in the storyline. When it was the framed hit and run, and we knew it was nothing to do with Jeff Hardy at that point, I sort of was like, well, do you know what? It was an interesting episode of SmackDown. It's certainly something very different, and I was sort of okay with it at that point. But we've just got more and more teasers of alcohol as we've gone throughout this process. Jeff Hardy losing at the last pay-per-view for me just didn't feel right at the time, and I just look at this and I just sort of feel that this now needs to finish as a feud. I really hope it's the end game here, because yes, Sheamus has come across with someone that you hate at the end of this, and perhaps for a heel perspective that may be doing him some favours, but I just feel that fans are not invested in this, and I've turned off of this storyline as well. I want to see it finish, and I want to see them go on to new chapters after this. So for me, if it's going to happen, if it is announced we've got a bar brawl, I think Jeff Hardy will win here, and then that will be hopefully the end and conclusion of this storyline. Last but not least as well, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura and the New Day have been going on a little rivalry right now, and we've got a false finish on SmackDown last week after Cesaro and Nakamura had beat the New Day previously, and we did notice that the New Day were put through a table. A fun spot as well that was done when it was done. So I think that we're going to get a kickoff match, and I think we're going to get a tables match between these two teams. I would love Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura to pick up the victory, but I think the New Day will retain if that happens. But what I would say is just to finish it off, because obviously we're not seeing SmackDown yet, I think whoever has the advantage going into the pay-per-view would be the team that would lose. So that's what I will stick out as a prediction here for this video. But if I had to put my name on it right now, I think the New Day would retain. But what I would say is that normally a tables match is a great way for a heel to win cowardly and not for doing much. And I really want to see Cesaro and Nakamura as tag team champions. I think they would be great for the tag team division. Cesaro is criminally underused and underrated in my personal opinion, and I would love to see him with a championship in WWE in 2020, even if it's the tag team championship. And Nakamura as well, I think as a team they're working pretty well, so I want to see it happen. But if I had to make a prediction now, I would say the New Day. But that's all for anyway. Those last two matches are speculation at this point, but I do expect them to be added. Maybe I'll do a video to confirm it and just say a final prediction with those as we go into the pay-per-view. But if there are any more matches that have not been announced here at the pay-per-view, I definitely will do a video on them. But that's all from me anyway. Do check out my other videos as well if you're interested in Impact Wrestling Slammiversary. That prediction video is up for you now as well. Please share the word with a friend as well. Let's get SCW to 500 subscribers. Would love to hit that milestone. But please enjoy Extreme Rules. It's going to be a horror show. I'm going to be there with my popcorn, hiding behind the sofa. Going to be enjoying it on Sunday evening. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. And yeah, enjoy Extreme Rules. I'll see you soon for another video here on SCW, the wrestling channel. Take care.